la Seneti, takujuza mengineo baadaye.
Senators, it is therefore not in any doubt that the Assembly set the hearing of the motion for at 9 a.m. 26th of June. I now refer the Honorable Senate to the Isiolo standing orders, specifically standing order number 1. It is found at volume 3, pages 85 and 86, on the times set for the sitting of the Assembly, and that is 9 a.m. for Wednesdays and 2:30 for Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. I do not need to say this because you're familiar with these times. It therefore follows that if the Assembly is to meet at any other time other than as set out in the standing orders, there must be a resolution to that effect. And so, therefore, the logical question that we are asking the Senate is this: is the Hansard genuine? Because the Hansard talks about a sitting conducted at 2:30 p.m. That is in line with the standing orders. But the notices, the invitation, and the special sitting issued by the Speaker talk about a sitting to be conducted at 9 a.m. So therefore, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Senators, we invite you, the Senate, to take note of the above, and then allow us to also review the Hansard that is provided. You probably understand the Hansard much better than we do, and I refer you to the Hansard for the 18th of June 2025, which clearly shows that the Assembly was adjourned to 26th of June at 2:30 p.m., and I refer you to volume 3 still of the Assembly's documentation. The issues that you will note when you review the answer is that, first of all, it is not certified by the clerk as is required. It just bears a stamp. It is therefore our submission that these latent, open, obvious, and blatant contradictions and anomalies between the Hansard and other records provided by the Assembly are major indicators not only of misrepresentation, but that the documents presented by the Assembly have been cooked and generated outside of the Assembly. This is further supported by the testimonies of the witnesses, which will be found at volume 2 of the Governor's response at page 14, where we have the affidavit of Salad Boru Gurasha, who was the clerk of the Assembly, who confirms that there was no sitting of the Assembly on either date. There is an affidavit by the Leader of Majority, Diba Ali, at pages 41 to pages 45, who confirms there was no sitting of the House Business Committee to deliberate and set out the order papers. Further, we have the affidavit of Shaban Mzungu, who was in charge of security at the Assembly on that particular day, and he confirms that there was no sitting of the Assembly. Honorable Speakers and Honorable Senators, we expect that the Assembly will try to persuade you that the issues we raise are not preliminary and they require a full evidential hearing. But allow me, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members of the Senate, to refer you to the Assembly's submissions on the preliminary objection, because they have filed submissions on the preliminary objection and they have quoted a decision And the jurisprudence from the courts is that a preliminary question is determined on the presumption that the facts pleaded are true. The facts that we are raising are the facts that have been pleaded by the Assembly. And that preliminary issue, when determined, may as well as dispose of the suit, and it is for that reason that we raise it as a preliminary issue, because if this Honorable House was to find that there was no sitting of the Assembly, then we cannot proceed with the hearing of the impeachment motion. And so we submit that these questions that we have raised satisfy this threshold, and we invite the Senate to look at the facts that have been pleaded by the Assembly and the documents that have been provided, and agree with us that this is a case of a phantom impeachment. Finally, as I, with one eye on the clock, we submit that this process is a hallowed process. It is not just about whether the grounds set out in Article 181 of the Constitution have been met. If the Senate is to examine whether there was a valid resolution and agree with us that the documents that have been presented are forged and cooked, then this impeachment, this phantom impeachment, amounts to an affront on the Constitution, and it sets a very dangerous precedent, because what it means is that it is possible for the Speaker and a few members of a rogue assembly to, in a way, attempt a coup, sit somewhere, cook documents, and present it to the Senate, and the Senate will then hear that matter. That in itself will be a violation of the Constitution, because this Senate has a mandate to protect devolution and to protect the counties. And that is the danger that we face in these phantom impeachment proceedings. Honorable Senators, the impeachment proceedings not only put the governor on trial, it does the same for the Constitution. It does the same for the Senate, for the members of the County Assembly, for the witnesses, for the lawyers on either side, and ultimately, the Kenyan people. It is our humble submission that the Kenyan people vested the power of impeachment in the Senate because they expected that the senators had special qualities, numbers, and temperament to rise to the occasion, and we urge this House to rise to that occasion. Finally, before I cede ground to my fellow counsel, allow me, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Senators, to just remind you of the words of Alexander Hamilton, one of the founders of the American Constitution, on the power and the question of impeachment. Hamilton explained that the senators were seen as the ideal arbiters in an impeachment process because the Senate would be a tribunal sufficiently dignified and sufficiently independent of the actual interest aligned in the subject of an impeachment. We urge this House to rise to this occasion, and we respectfully urge the Senate to review the material that we have provided and to find that there was no sitting of the Assembly that gave rise to the resolution that is before you for consideration. And Honorable Speaker and the Honorable Senators, I thank you for the opportunity you have accorded us to address you on this issue, and I invite my senior Elisha Ongoya to take us on the second limb of our preliminary issue.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, distinguished senators. As indicated, my name is Elisha Ongoya, lead counsel for the governor. Before I address you on another substantive preliminary question on an existing court order touching on these matters, allow me to invite my learned colleague, Mr. Elias Mutuma, to wind up on that issue of the proceedings before the Assembly by drawing your attention to certain salient material aspects of the purported Hansards that have been presented before you, so that you have all that in consideration. Then I'll move to the next subject. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable senators, for the opportunity. The council representing the County Assembly will be here shortly to try and convince you that what we have raised is not a preliminary objection, but requires an interrogation by way of listening to witnesses and making a determination based on what they will say. But our submission is simple, honorable senators, that what we have raised is a pure PO that can be addressed and determined based on what has been presented by the County Assembly of Isiolo. Honorable senators, my understanding of Hansard's records is that they are a verbatim record of what transpires in a House proceedings. Therefore, they are able to tell us exactly what happened on the day that that motion is said to have been passed. We have raised an issue with proceedings that are said to have taken place on the 18th of June 2025 and proceedings that are said to have taken place on 26th of June 2025. Honorable senators, with your kind permission, kindly hold your volume 3 of the County Assembly's documents. I will take a very short time to take you through the Hansards, and this being a house that is also a house that is very much familiar with proceedings in the House, you'll be able to tell me whether there is anything that took place there. At page 7 of that bundle, we have been presented with what is said to be the proceedings of 18th of June 2025. Page 7 of 7 of volume 3 of the documents. Page 7. We see the House purportedly sitting for the first time. There is no communication from the chair. There is no calling of orders by the clerk. Straight away, the mover of the motion proceeds to execute the business of the day. Look at it. It is straight away withdrawal of the motion on the impeachment of Isiolo County government dated 10th June 2025. What does it begin with? Honorable Abubakar Kodana. Honorable senators, who presided over this session? There is no invitation from the speaker for the mover of the motion to proceed and execute the business of the day. Let's proceed. Honorable Abubakar Kodana proceeds and proposes a motion to withdraw the previous motion and invites two members of the County Assembly, Honorable Nicholas Lorot and David Nyoro, to second the motion. Without again the intervention of the speaker, these two members rise and they proceed to second the motion. So who invites them to the floor? Who is presiding over this House? Let's go on. The two members support the withdrawal of the motion, and the speaker now is seen for the very first time. There is no question put to the members. There is no vote that has taken place, but the speaker proceeds to say, the members, the notice of the special motion or the removal from office by impeachment, the governor of Isiolo County issued on Tuesday 10th June 2025 has been officially removed As requested by the mover, Honorable Bakar, member for Sericho Ward, we now proceed to the next business. So who approved this withdrawal? Who approved this withdrawal? Where is the vote? Let's proceed. Honorable Senators, we proceed to the Hansard now of 26 when the governor is being purportedly impeached. That's at page 23 of the same document. There is a communication from the chair. The first order of business, you will come across the order paper at page 17, where we have a total of 8 orders of the day. 8. But when you go to page 23, we do not see the clerk calling out the orders. Just look at it. It is the speaker directly proceeding to make a communication. Is that an anomaly, Honorable Senators? We are all familiar with the business of the day. But what intrigues me more, Honorable Senators, the first order of the day here is to lay on the table the purported public participation report, which is done by Honorable David Lemantile, allegedly. He prosecutes his motion and argues on the public participation. Let's go to the end at page 31. But before that one, let's go slightly at page 30, where he completes his submissions. After laying the paper, public participation, we now see Honorable Peter Losu standing up to second this motion. Who has invited him to second this motion? Out of nowhere, he's not invited by anyone, but Hansards show that he rose to second this motion. And then the speaker proposes the question and it opens the floor to the members of the House. At page 31, the last member seen to be speaking is Honorable Francis Letimalo. The speaker now puts the question. So what happens after the question was put, Honorable Senators? There is no record whatsoever of what transpired. Nothing. A question is put, there is no indication that the House actually endorsed the public participation report. That Hansard is left hanging. Honorable Senators, after that paper is laid, the Speaker does not even call for the next order. The clerk is not seen anywhere calling for the next order. Instead, what do we see? Honorable Abubakar Godana is seen now on the floor. Hansards are supposed to be capturing verbatim what transpired. So who was in charge of this House? Where is the Speaker's recording inviting the mover of the motion to move the motion? Where is the recording of the clerk inviting, or rather calling for the order, for the next order? There is nothing. Instead, we just see someone on the floor prosecuting the motion. And he proceeds and proceeds. At page 35, he's done. Strangely, the first paragraph at the top of page 35, when he completes to execute his motion, he does not invite anyone to even second. Records are there. But we see one Honorable Major Golicha now standing up to second the impeachment motion. Who has invited him? There is no one. And other members, strangely now, so the House is suddenly in an autopilot. So from Honorable Major, then we see the Speaker opening the floor. You have Honorable Peter Losu. He continues. Without the intervention of the Speaker, there is another member, Honorable Celestio Kiambi, who proceeds as if the Speaker is not in this House, as if the clerk is not in this House, and proceeds. Another member just rises up from nowhere. There is no recording of the Speaker inviting any member to make a contribution to this motion. Apart from, of course, page 39, when suddenly the person cooking this answer realizes the Speaker has not been captured in this, and now we see the Speaker for the first time. In conclusion, because I do not want to take time that my senior is going to take to address you on the other issue, look at page 41. After the members purportedly complete to make their submissions, the Speaker makes very strange remarks, and I quote at page 41. Clerk, is the Governor or his legal representative available? Sergeant at Arm, can you check around if the Governor or his legal representative are present? The Speaker does not even take time to communicate to the House whether the Governor had been invited. He does not even read that invitation notice as required. So why is he calling for the Governor, whom Learned Counsel had told you was invited to appear at 9 and we at 2 o'clock? The Speaker is not seen anywhere saying that we invited the Governor by this letter and he has not come, but instead asked the clerk to check whether the Governor is available anywhere. Let's proceed. I'm completing, Honorable Senators, and this is going to shock you. So when the Governor was confirmed was not in the House, the Speaker proceeds to guide the House on the next move. At the end of that page 41, I read what the Speaker says. When the doors, I'm reading the last part, when the doors have been locked and the bar drawn and the names of the tellers have been announced, the Speaker shall, this is the Speaker telling them, the Speaker shall put the question again in the presence of the tellers. When called out, each member shall thereupon rise in his or her place and declare assent or dissent to the question in the following manner. I vote yes or I vote nay. Proceeds. Honorable Senators, page 42. Where does the Speaker put that question to the members of the House present? There is no question put whatsoever. She has just told them that he needs to put that question again. There is no question put. So what were these members voting for or against? There is no question put. Honorable Senators, we then need to sit here and invite witnesses on the stand to demonstrate that there was no proceedings that took place on 26th and 18th. I rest my case.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, distinguished senators. I'll proceed to argue the final limb of the objection, but just to cap up what my learned colleagues have told you, that if before you is a purported Hansard in the form and content that you have been taken through, if before you is a purported Hansard that no one has taken the courage of his or her conviction to certify, if somebody brought before this House a Hansard that is not certified, because certification is done by a particular officer whose signature we can tell, is what is before you a Hansard of the County Assembly of Isiolo or a mere piece of paper? And if we conclude, as I invite you to, that what is before you is a mere piece of paper To the extent that it is not certified, can we take any other proceedings on the strength of that mere piece of paper? That is what makes this issue a proper preliminary objection for resolution, one way or the other, before we can go into the trial. Secondly, is the issue of the order of court. And I want to address this issue as follows. We are guided by the Constitution and other laws and the standing orders, and to an extent, the manuals that this House publishes from time to time to inform both these members and the members of the public who interact with this House. My research has revealed that the latest manual issued by this House is a manual entitled Removal from Office of County Governors and Deputy County Governors through Impeachment, an easy-to-use manual on the procedures and rules. That manual, on the face of it, was published by the Directorate of Legal Services and the Senate Liaison Office in the year 2025, which is this year. Part 3 of that manual is entitled Judicial Proceedings Against Impeachment. And this is the position this House has communicated in that manual at page 60, which is the very last page of that manual. There are 2 subtitles at page 60 of that manual, which is subtitle 1,